Today we are going to be talking about Makesy's Coco Apricot Creme Wax and Virgin Coconut Soy Wax. I did go ahead and make another video that I'll link down in the description box below that you can check out if you want to see my process of how I made both of these candles, the temperatures that I heated the wax to, the temperatures that I added fragrance oil to, and all that stuff. If you want to check that out, it'll be in the description box below. But for right now, let's get into this video. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nick and this is the 1994 Candle Co. I wish that I could say that my studio, that this was like abnormal and that, you know, like it's always gonna be put together and looking much better back here and all that stuff, but that would be a lie, honestly. So I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you that it's always gonna look nice and pretty back here, but it is what it is. Today's video, we are going to be talking all about the hot throw, the cold throw, the glass adhesion, all that stuff of these two waxes. Realistically, this video came from my own desire because I wanted to know more about these two waxes. I had been looking into different coconut waxes to try out, and these kind of seem to be the most popular ones that I hear about in most places. I know that the Makesy version is different than the versions that you get from other candle suppliers, and I did talk about that a little bit in my last video. And so I just wanted to kind of compare these two waxes, see which one was, if there is one that's better, one that, you know, has a better hot throw, cold throw, all that kind of stuff. So I am going to break down the ratings for these candles into 5 different categories. So the first one's going to be glass adhesion. Second one's going to be how smooth the tops were after pouring and after they've cooled. The third one is going to be the burn profile, or how well it burned. Was there any sooting, you know, things like that. Number 4 is going to be the cold throw, and number 5 finally is the hot throw. And in those 5 categories, I am going to be rating them on a scale of 1 to 5 in each category. So in most of these categories, 1 is going to be like, this was, for whatever reason, this was not great. 2 is going to be below average. 3 is pretty average. This is where I kind of expect most waxes, candles, cold throw, hot throw. Kind of average is where I imagine it to be. 4 is just going to be like a little bit above average, and 5 is going to be like, wow, this is amazing in whatever category we might be talking about. So for instance, jar adhesion for both of these. I honestly would say the jar adhesion for both of these was about the same. I know you can't really, I don't know that you're going to be able to see it on camera. Let me see if it'll focus. But there are like a few wet spots in there where obviously I've burned these, but there were more wet spots like on both of them. And like I said, I know it's hard to see. So, but there were wet spots on both of these jars for the most part. I would say, honestly, they were both probably about the same. They both had like one big wet spot on like one side or whatever. Really, this is not something that most customers care about though. So I wouldn't even really like this category isn't like that super important when it comes to picking a wax. But I'm going to go ahead and say that these two were both pretty average. They were, for the most part, they were pretty good with the jar adhesion. They did both, like I said, have you know, like one big wet spot on either side or whatever. But I feel like that's pretty normal, but I guess I work with 6006, which is known for being horrible with jar adhesion. So to me, having like one wet spot is really not a big deal. And again, wet spots are something that can sometimes be corrected by changing your method of like what temperature you pour the wax into the jar, and even sometimes like when you add fragrance and things like that, or even some things like how cold or hot it is in the room. All those things can kind of affect your jar adhesion and stuff like that. But again, as I was saying, most customers are not going to care about this. This is not something that they really even notice when they're picking up a candle. Really, the main thing that they care about is the smell and how it burns. And then the next category is going to be how smooth the tops were. So after I let these cure a bit and everything, I would say that the Coco Apricot Creme actually did a little bit worse in this category than the Virgin Coconut Soy. The Coco Apricot Creme, I would give it maybe a 2. There definitely was there was like some pulling away from the wicks and stuff like that. And then there was also definitely a rather large sinkhole right in the middle of the candle. So in this category, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the virgin coconut soy definitely won. There was definitely the Coco Apricot Creme definitely had a rather large sinkhole kind of in the middle, as well as there was like some wax pulling away from around the wicks. There's even some, I don't know if you'll be able to see it after you've burned it a little bit. Like I said, don't know if it's gonna focus. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see it, but there is like some of the wax is pulled away from the wicks and stuff even after burning it. But again, that's nothing that a heat gun won't fix. But as far as rating these, I'm going to go ahead and give the Coco Apricot Creme, I would say it was a little below average, so I'm going to give it a 2. And the Virgin Coconut Soy, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 4 because it was a really smooth top. There was no dips or anything like that in the wax. There was no sinkholes, nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and say it was definitely above average for this one. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is kind of the burn profile. So that's like, did they burn too hot? Did they soot at all? All that kind of stuff. And this is mostly more candle maker error than anything to do with the waxes, but it is something to take note of. So normally when I use these jars with 6006, HTP 83s are the wicks that I use, and that's what I used for these. I will say they definitely burned a little hot with this wax. Both of these waxes are a little bit softer than 6006, and so I would say that if I were to redo this, I would definitely go down like a wick size, probably to like an HTP 73 if you were going to use HTP wicks, somewhere around there if you're going to double wick it. But with that being said, thankfully these jars are super thick, and so they didn't really get too hot around the outsides. So, I mean, if you did HTP 83, it wouldn't be the end of the world by any means. They definitely never really got super hot. I could still pick them up and they weren't, you know, like burning my hands by any means. But it's just that even though they didn't get too hot on the outsides, they did reach a full melt pool pretty quickly. It was probably an hour and a half, 2 hours before they reached full melt pool. I usually like to make it a little more, around 3 to 4 hours when we're talking about jars that are this wide. They are a little over, I think it's like 3¼ inch wide, something around there. But as I'll show you with both of these waxes, they both definitely have some kind of, you know, they're definitely a little dark after they've been burned. I don't know if that's necessarily because of the wicks or the wax or what it is. I think that there's definitely some debris from the wicks in here, so I would maybe even try using a different wick than HTP. I will say there's not nearly as much in the Coco Apricot Creme. The Virgin Coconut Soy definitely has a little bit more, there's definitely more darkness to the wax after it's been burned. Again, that might just be the wicks. I'm not exactly 100% sure. But with the Coco Apricot Creme, it definitely is a lot cleaner. It's definitely still, there's definitely still a little bit of darkness to it, but not nearly as much as the Virgin Coconut Soy. And as far as sitting, I definitely did notice a little bit more sitting with the Virgin Coconut Soy than the Coco Apricot Creme. I wouldn't say it was like super bad or anything like that. That's probably why the wax is a little bit darker. But like I said, it wasn't like a huge difference. But for the purposes of this video, I do need to choose one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Coco Apricot Creme, I'll give it a 4, slightly above average burn profile. And the Virgin Coconut Soy, I'm going to go ahead and say is probably closer to like a 3, which is pretty average. It's definitely, like I said, it's not bad. It wasn't like tons and tons of soot. It wasn't like clouds of black smoke or anything like that. It was just, you know, occasionally I'd notice a little puff of black smoke here and there. Whenever you're testing new waxes, you do want to try out a few different wicks with it. So I used HTP because those wicks are what work with my wax, which is 6006. So anytime I test new waxes, that's always kind of where I start because I know those wicks really well. But I would even try maybe like Eco Wicks in this one, or maybe like CD wicks, something like that. Those usually seem to work fairly well as well. So even though the Cocoa Apricot Creme definitely won a little bit in this category, I would say if you are going to use virgin coconut soy, just play around with the wicks a little bit. I would maybe try a different wick than HTP's, or possibly just go down to an HTP 73, and that might also fix the issue. And now the last two categories that I know you've all been waiting for. Hopefully you didn't just skip all the others and go straight to these, but if you did, it's fine, I get it. Because realistically, the main thing that customers care about is gonna be the cold throw and the hot throw, especially the hot throw. The cold throw, I've heard other candle makers say this, the cold throw is what sells a candle, but the hot throw is what's gonna make them come back. And again, I want to preface this part of the video by saying that I am using 6006, and so that is a wax known for having a really strong hot throw. It is a soy and paraffin blend, and so if you're coming from something that's like 100% soy or something like that, both of these honestly are probably going to be really strong cold throw and hot throw for you. But for the sake of this video, I am going to compare both of them and let you know. So first up, my rating of the cold throw. For the virgin coconut soy, for the rating for this, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's probably gonna be, it's really hard to say. I would say maybe like 2.5, 3. It's like right on the edge of like being a little below average. Compared to me, I'm used to 6006, like I said, and so it has a very strong hot throw. So I would say that it's probably right around a 3, which is pretty average. It's definitely not bad. But like I said, the virgin coconut soy, I definitely would say I would give it a 3, which is pretty average. The Coco Apricot Creme though, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4. It was definitely above average. I would even say that it was almost comparable with 6006. 6006, even though it has a great hot throw, sometimes the cold throw is very hit or miss. It's like sometimes can be super amazing, like, you know, like you take off the lid of a candle and it's just like in your face, and then other times it's like, is there any scent there? And you get a little worried. So Coco Apricot Creme, I definitely am going to go ahead and give it a 4. Definitely a little above average. It's definitely stronger of the two cold throws. I could definitely tell a pretty big difference between the two. And finally, the hot throw, the moment that we've all been waiting for. And just like with the cold throw, there is a clear winner in this category, and it's going to be Coco Apricot Creme. I would say that the hot throw was pretty comparable to 6006. I did move it around to a few different places in our apartment. So we lit them both in our bathrooms. The Coco Apricot Creme though, I could smell it definitely down our hallway, as well as when I moved it to our other bathroom, which is kind of inside our bedroom, as well as like it's right outside of our living room. I could smell it all the way out into our living room when I put it in that bathroom, which is a pretty far throw. The virgin coconut soy, I would say probably like a 3, pretty average for the hot throw. The Coco Apricot Creme, I would definitely say it was a 4, maybe even a 5, because it's definitely up there pretty close to 6006. The virgin coconut soy, when we lit that one, I could definitely smell it in the bathroom. It definitely, and I could smell it maybe a bit just walking up to the bathroom, but it definitely didn't go all the way down the hallway, and it definitely didn't come out into the living room when we switched it to the other bathroom or anything like that. So I've definitely got to say that the Coco Apricot Creme has definitely won in that category. So overall, between these two waxes, again, this is just one test. I wouldn't necessarily just go off of this one test. This was one test with one fragrance oil and one wax, you know. If you're gonna really test out these waxes, I wanna say that you're gonna definitely wanna test out several fragrance oils and several other things. But for the sake of this video and for this test, I've gotta say that I think the Coco Apricot Creme definitely won. Definitely, like I said, the burn profile was a little bit better as far as not, sooting as much and stuff like that. The cold throw and the hot throw were definitely just quite a bit better than the virgin coconut soy. But again, I would encourage you to always do your own testing. And if you are using virgin coconut soy, does not mean that you need to switch over to Coco Apricot Creme. I'm sure, honestly, that your customers wouldn't even notice like a huge difference in most things. You know, they might notice a slight difference in the hot throw or the cold throw or something like that if you did decide to switch, but really wouldn't recommend it. It's a lot of work to switch waxes, as we all know. And again, both of these waxes are great waxes. You can't really go wrong with either one. But that is going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please give it a thumbs up. It does really help more people to see the video so that I know what kind of videos you guys want to see. And if you enjoy candle business content and things like this, be sure to also subscribe to the channel so that you can see my future videos. But I think that is going to be it for today, so I'll see you guys next time.